People love eating breakfast, but a lot of times the options can be quite unhealthy. So I'm gonna show you some of your favorites just done in a more healthy way. We're here at Landers today. We're gonna pick up our ingredients and then we're gonna head off to the studio. Back in the studio, and we are going to make some of my favorite breakfast staples, trying to use a minimal amount of ingredients and giving you options for people who look for healthier breakfasts. A lot of people have staples that they don't want to kind of break away from, but they know they're not necessarily good for you. Option number one, pancakes. We all know pancakes are delicious, but pancakes are not the best for your weight loss goals or if you're trying to diet. So I'm gonna show you how to make something that I've already done before, but I'm just gonna put it in this video as well, which is a 2-ingredient pancake, which just has bananas and some eggs. High protein, not too high in carbs, and the carbs that you're getting from the banana. The number 2 that we're gonna do are hash browns. Again, if you're someone who loves hash browns and potatoes, as I do, instead of potatoes, we're gonna be doing it with some cabbage. Trust me, you think it's weird, but when you try it, it actually does taste almost like a potato. I'm not gonna say it tastes like a potato, but it's almost there. And it's not as bad as it sounds, because cabbage hash browns, if I saw that on a menu, I'd be like, screw you. Give me my potato. The third dish that we'll be doing is something that I personally love eating in the morning, which is cereal. I grew up eating cereal, realized it wasn't great for you because there's lots of added sugars and everything. Transitioned to things like granola or muesli, thinking that it was better for me, and then realizing that actually that is just as bad because depending on the brands that you buy, they do add a lot of sugars, lots of dried fruit. Imagine a dried fruit, like when you have a tiny, tiny, tiny little strawberry or a tiny, tiny raisin, that's a whole raisin. So if you can eat 20 raisins, you're actually eating 20 grapes without like the nutritional like fiber and stuff in there. It's literally just sugar. So I'm gonna show you how to make a healthy granola or healthy muesli or whatever you wanna call it. I'm not sure what to call it just yet. And then the final one we're gonna do is Super Baboy. It's basically people who wanna have burgers in the morning. Who are you? That's weird. And if you're keto, right? Because everyone's keto nowadays. If you're keto, it's something that you wouldn't be able to eat. You can't eat a burger because there's buns and buns can't be good and carbohydrates, blah, 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 wheat flour, all that stuff. So instead of buns, we're gonna try making egg buns and then put the beef in the middle. Super high fat. I'm not really promoting the keto lifestyle, but if you want high fat, high protein to start your day, it actually will keep you full longer. Then this is the recipe for you. We're gonna start first with the hash browns. Very simple, plain, boring cabbage. The thing about cabbage is it fills you up really quickly and it's actually not that expensive. So we're gonna go ahead and just shave that. I'm gonna try to go as fine as possible here. We actually don't need that much because a little goes a very long way. So that's kind of what we're looking for here, nice little shreds. I'm gonna keep that to the side and I'm gonna do the same thing with a white onion. Mix all those together. Once you have that going, get a bowl out. We're gonna crack in about I'm gonna start with 2 eggs, mix it in, see if that's enough. Some salt, just a tad bit, black pepper. Then we're gonna add in the cabbage and the onions. Get my pan on, a little bit of olive oil. When your pan is at a medium heat, then we can go ahead and start placing the mixture in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and cover this just to let that steam kind of cook the surface of the other hash brown. And then when it's more or less solid, I can go ahead and flip it to the other side. Okay, you'll see that the top is slightly cooked. Again, this is not the easiest thing to flip. Don't judge me, don't judge me. Simply because, obviously, because you don't have the starch of the potato, it might not be as solid as you're used to. Let's do 2 spatulas. Same thing on this side, cover, let steam, let solidify. Now we're good to go to plate. And there you have it, very simple, kind of like a keto hash brown. If you want to have more of a hash brown texture, you can lessen the egg in the amount of mounds you put in. If you want it to look more like this, you can add more. It's really up to you. And these recipes are all malleable. That's the beauty of cooking at home. So I'm gonna go ahead and open that up. And you'll see it kind of has that filament texture that you're looking for in a hash brown. And then when you taste it, the cabbage really kind of almost disappears. And you get something that's similar to the real deal. It's good for you too. and it's super fast to make. Recipe number 2, we're doing fake pancakes. So we're gonna start with a very simple ratio, 1 banana, using Lacatan, I'm not using Cavendish. Break that up into a bowl. Actually, these are quite small, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a second one. Mash the whole thing together. We just really wanna break it down. It gives me more lumps and texture to the pancake, and I think I like, having those bites of flavor in there. To this, I'm adding some banana flour. Yes, it's a real thing. If you haven't heard about it before, banana flour is literally just made out of bananas. So I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons. You can do this without the banana flour, but the texture that you get with the banana flour is so much better and so much closer to an actual pancake because you'll have some of that starchiness. And then finally, we're gonna go ahead and add 2 eggs. I'm gonna add a bit more banana flour just to give me more texture. At the end of the day, you kind of want this to feel like a pancake batter. So now that that's all ready, we're gonna go ahead and let it rest for 10 minutes. All right, so now that our mixture has rested a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead and add 1 teaspoon of butter to a really good nonstick pan. Melt that off, grab your mix, and then plop that into the pan. Now obviously guys, texture here is gonna be very different from what you expect from a pancake. This is much healthier. So again, with healthier food, there's always gonna be some sacrifices made in terms of flavor or texture. These are just ways to make, a healthier breakfast. So it'll be slightly more dense. It won't puff up as much as a regular pancake, but it'll be just as delicious. All right, this one's done. And these are good to go. So they look like the real thing. And then we can kind of dust them off with whatever we want. So I like using a little bit of cinnamon. Cinnamon for me just naturally evokes sweetness without actually giving you anything sweet. And then in terms of what you want to put it with, you can put obviously some maple syrup. There's actually some great sugar-free maple syrup that you can use. This is actually really clean. What I'm going to do is just add a small teaspoon of honey, and that should be more than enough. Now to actually taste it, I'm gonna go ahead and cut into it. You'll see kind of fully cooked. Obviously, as I said before, this is slightly denser than a regular pancake. The flavor is there. And what I love about this really, it's just 2 ingredients. It's bananas and eggs. The bananas obviously are banana and then some banana flour, but delicious. I could eat this and not feel guilty about it. That's what I love about this recipe. Third recipe now, super deceivingly easy to make. It's granola. So usually a granola is oats that's bound by, I was about to say binded. Is it binded or bound? Jesus, binded, bound. Screw it. Let's just go with bound. So granola is usually oats that are bound with sugars or honeys to get it sticky and clumpy and stuff. There's a way around it, but not using too much sugar, and that's by having some good quality coconut oil, which we have here. To that, in terms of sweetener, I'm gonna add in some good honey. So I don't wanna use too much because I wanna give the option that when you're actually using the granola to add as much sugar as you deem, or honey or cocoa sugar or maple syrup as you deem necessary. I'm just gonna go ahead and mix that. It's not really gonna combine well, but it might help just kind of break it up a little bit. Next, we're gonna go ahead and make our mix. So super simple. I got some almonds, some cashews, and some pumpkin seeds that here, I don't need to break it up too much. So just a little bit. If you still have whole pieces in there, it's not a problem at all. So once that's combined, I'm gonna grab my oats. You wanna use rolled oats here because you need the flat oats. You can't use the steel cut kind of Irish oats or the groats or anything like that. Instant will not work as well. So you need something that'll hold itself. So this should be just fine. And then to that, I'm gonna go ahead and add our nut mixture. Mix all that together. This is where you could add like dried fruit and stuff, but let's not add it. So let's try to keep the sugar as low as possible here. So that's spread out properly. A bit of salt, just a nice sprinkling, some cinnamon, and then we're gonna add our oil and our honey mix. So I'm gonna spread that out as flat as I can. I'm using a silicone mat here. You can use wax paper if you want. Tap it down a little bit. This goes into the oven for about 20 minutes at around 170, 185 centigrades until it gets nice and crispy. And then when that's done, we can go ahead and add in any other dry ingredients you wanna put in that don't need to be cooked. Last recipe is our baboy putok batok breakfast recipe for all you keto freaks out there. Gains, bro. Okay, simple. We're gonna start with some eggs, 4 eggs. Season this with a little bit of salt. Get a small pan out, get another pan out. A little bit of oil on the small pan. You don't want to get it too hot because you don't want this burning fast. You want this cooking actually really kind of slow. I'm gonna pour in the eggs. I'm gonna mix it a little bit. Just what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to explain to you is to make sure that you don't burn basically the eggs too fast on the bottom and then not enough on the top. And don't worry, everyone's gonna say, oh, you're using a fork on a Teflon pan. I'm not touching the bottom of the pan. Relax, it's just the eggs. Listen, no scratching. So while that's slowly bubbling away, you can actually cover it with something so that that steam actually helps to cook the top of the egg as well. In Erwan land, we don't have lids that fit with pans because we have too much stuff. So I'm just gonna put this on top and it's gonna work out. All right, next, I got this pan that's getting a little too hot. Some oil as well. I got some meat. I'm gonna make a patty almost as big as this. And I'm not gonna do much to it. And with meat, I wanna make sure that I don't do too much to it. And I like them slightly flatter. For the egg, we can go ahead and flip it to the other side. Maybe wait till that gets a little bit more solid on top. Flip the egg. Now we can go ahead and make second egg patty. The beef at this point should be basically ready, so we're gonna go ahead and grate some cheese on it. Burger is basically ready. Leave it rest for 5 minutes, and then we should be good to go. Then we put the burger on top of our egg bun. Really simple. What I'm gonna do now is just remove the excess. If you have kind of like those molds, you can use that so that all of these are exactly the same size, right? Same thing for this one. Now if we want, we can go ahead and add in some ketchup. Now the question is, can you actually eat it? Of course you can eat it. I mean, can you actually hold it? So it will hold like an actual burger, which is pretty cool. So it gives you that vibe. Obviously it's wetter because it's eggs. Let's try it out. Perfectly cooked inside. 20 minutes later, the granola should be ready. Okay, this is way too hot for me to touch, so we're gonna let it cool for 10 minutes. Once you can touch it with your hands like this, it's basically ready, and this is where you can add all the other dry ingredients you want. If you want to add some dried fruit, if you want to add some toasted coconut, you can do this at this point. I'm just gonna add some puffed Rice Krispies or some Peony Pig on top. Mix that. Obviously, the more oil you add, the more honey you add, that's where you get those clumps, but I wanted to try to keep it as simple as possible. So that's ready. This is something you can store for kind of weeks in a jar. And since I haven't really eaten anything since this morning, I'm gonna go ahead and prepare myself a little bit of granola. So I've got my granola here. I usually measure kind of like 1/3 to 1/2 cup max. Some milk, some banana for some sweetness. Again, since I didn't add too much sweetness, I'm gonna add some jam. This is some sugar-free strawberry jam. Mix it up. That's basically it. So if you guys have any kind of like tips on how to make healthier breakfast, please let us know in the comments below. We always read it. As always, thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm gonna dig into this and take a little break.